5 goals in 18 minutes on home soil in front of 200 million people watching in disbelief. What you are about to hear is not fiction, it is not exaggeration, it is the single most catastrophic collapse in the history of the world's most watched sporting event. But here is what nobody tells you. This wasn't just a football match, this was a national trauma. This was a psychological earthquake that shook an entire civilization's sense of identity. And when it was over, a nation wept in the streets while the whole world sat in stunned, uncomfortable silence. This is the story of the most shocking match in World Cup history. The FIFA World Cup. 92 years of history, over a century of David versus Goliath battles, impossible comebacks, and legendary upsets. In its near 100-year history, the FIFA World Cup has thrown up results that sparked global shock, nationwide trauma, and the culmination of football generations that promised so much. There have been extraordinary shocks. Saudi Arabia's stunning 2-1 defeat of a 36-game unbeaten Argentina in Qatar 2022 captivated the world. Senegal defeating defending champions France in 2002 with a single Papa Bouba Diop goal remains one of the most poetic upsets ever. The USA's 1-0 victory over England in 1950, scored by a Haitian-born part-time player, is still debated as the greatest upset in the tournament's early history. But none of them, come close to what happened on July 8, 2014 in Belo Horizonte, Brazil. The Brazil vs Germany match, known to history by its score 7-1 and called the Mineiraço in Brazil, was the first semi-final of the 2014 FIFA World Cup. Both Brazil and Germany had reached the semi-finals with undefeated records. Brazil's quarter-final against Colombia cost them their star forward Neymar to injury, and their captain and defender Thiago Silva to suspension. Despite these losses, a close match was still expected. After all, this was Brazil, the Seleção, 5-time world champions, playing on home soil, in front of their own people, in their own country that had waited over 60 years to host the tournament again. The stakes could not have been higher. And then the whistle blew, after a breathless and scoreless opening 10 minutes. Germany's Thomas Müller scored off a corner kick to make it 1-0. 4 more German goals followed within the next 18 minutes. Read that again. 4 goals in 18 minutes. Miroslav Klose scored in the 23rd minute, passing Brazil's Ronaldo as the all-time leading scorer in World Cup history with 16 goals. Toni Kroos added a pair of goals in the 24th and 26th minutes. Sami Khedira closed the first half scoring in the 29th minute, making it 5-0. Moving Germany past Brazil as the all-time highest goal scorers in World Cup history. 5 goals, 29 minutes, the host nation, 5-time world champions. Brazil fans were in tears and some began leaving their seats. Inside the Mineirão Stadium, grown men and women openly sobbed. Fights broke out in the stands. Military police were forced to send a special forces squad into the stadium. The second half brought no mercy. Substitute André Schürrle scored a pair of goals in 10 minutes, making it 7-0. At that point, the remaining home fans gave the Germans a standing ovation. They weren't celebrating the enemy. They were acknowledging the extraordinary. Oscar scored a consolation goal in the 90th minute to make the final score 7-1. How does the greatest footballing nation on earth concede 7 goals at home? Brazil lost not just 2 players, but their entire tactical spine, their top scorer and their captain on the same night. But the deeper issue was systemic. Brazil had been carried emotionally on passion rather than cohesive, disciplined football. When that emotional wall cracked, there was nothing structural behind it. Germany, by contrast, was a machine. Their attack was described as a blitzkrieg, relentless, breaking both records and the will of the Brazilian players and the partisan crowd. Brazil's coach, Luiz Felipe Scolari, accepted full responsibility, saying, "The responsibility for this catastrophic result is mine. I was in charge." The records shattered that night were historic. No side had ever allowed 7 goals in a World Cup semifinal. In Brazil, the loss was described as total humiliation. The defeat was dubbed the Mineiraço, evoking the Maracanazo, Brazil's 1950 home defeat that had haunted the country for over 60 years. Now there were two generational wounds. The match became a global cultural reference point. It was cited in geopolitical commentary, became a metaphor in business and psychology, and is still used today to describe any catastrophic collapse. Saudi Arabia 2-1, Argentina was a stunning upset. Germany 7-1, Brazil was a civilizational event. The World Cup has given us a century of the unexpected. It has humbled the mighty. But when historians sit down to write the definitive chapter of World Cup shock, They will keep returning to one night, one stadium, one scoreline, July 8, 2014, Belo Horizonte. The night the world's football capital became the scene of its most incomprehensible defeat. Because in sport, just like in life, the moment you think nothing can go wrong, that is exactly when everything does. The question is never if the unthinkable will happen. The question is always, who will be standing there when it does? The Mineracho, July 8, 2014, never forgotten.